Good morning. So our daily Where the Red Fern Grows reading. We left off with him feeling a little disappointed that he hadn't caught anything yet. And then he's like, all right, I'm going to get my clothes on. I'm going to go check one last time. As soon as I was finished with breakfast, I called my pups and lit out for the river. The first trap was empty. So was the second one. That old feeling of doubt came over me again. I thought, it's no use. I'll never catch one, and I so need the skin to train my pups. On the way to my third trap, I had to walk through a thick stand of wild cane. It was tough going, and my pups started whimpering. I stopped and I picked them up. We'll be out of this in a few minutes, I said, and then you'll be all right. I came plowing out of the matted mass and was right on the trap before I realized it. I was met by a loud squall. I was so surprised I dropped the pups. There he was, my first coon. He was humped up on a sycamore log, growling and showing his teeth. He kept jerking his front paw, which was jammed deep in the hole I'd bored. He was trapped by his own curiosity. I couldn't move, and I felt like my wind had been cut off. I kept hearing a noise, but couldn't make out what it was. The movement of the boy pup shook me from my trance. The unidentified sound was his bawling. He was trying to climb up on the log and get to the coon. I yelled at him and darted in to hold on his collar. On seeing my movement, the coon let out another squall. It scared me half to death. I froze in my tracks and started yelling again at my pup. The girl pup worked around behind the coon and climbed up on the log. I screamed at her. She paid no attention to me. Digging his sharp little claws in the bark, the boy pup made it to the top. He didn't hesitate. Straight down that sycamore log he charged. With teeth bared, the coon waited. When my pup was about 2 feet from him, he made a lunge. The coon just seemed to pull my pup up under his stomach and went to work with tooth and claw. The girl pup saved him. Like a cat in a corn crib, she sneaked in from behind and sank her needle-sharp teeth into the coon's back. It was too much for old Ringy. He turned the boy pup loose, turned around, and slapped her clear off the log. She came running to me, yelping her head off. I grabbed her up in my arms and looked for the boy pup. When the coon had turned him loose, he too had fallen off the log. He was trying to get back to the coon. I darted in and grabbed him by the hind leg. With a pup under each arm and running as fast as I could, I lit out for the house. Coming out of the bottoms into a fresh plowed field, I set my pups down so I could get a little more speed. I started yelling as soon as I came inside of the house. Mama came flying out with my sisters, right behind her. Papa was out by the barn harnessing his team. Mama yelled something to him about a snake. He dropped the harness, jumped over the rail fence, and in a long lope started for me. Mama reached me first. She grabbed me and shouted, "Where did it bite you?" "Bite me?" I said. "Why, Mama, I'm not bit. I've got him, Mama, I've got him." "Got what?" Mama asked. "A big coon," I said. "The biggest one in the river bottoms. He's this big, Mama." And I made a circle with my arms as big as a 20-gallon keg. Mama just groaned way down deep and covered her face with her hands. Some big tears squeezed out between her fingers. Almost in a whisper, I heard her say, "Thank God. I thought you were snake-bitten." My sisters, seeing Mama cry, puckered up and started bawling themselves. "He needs a whipping," the oldest one said. "That's what he needs, scaring Mama that way." Something busted loose inside of me, and I cried a little too. "I didn't mean to scare Mama," I sniffed. "I just wanted everyone to know I caught a coon." Up until this time, Papa hadn't said a word. He just stood looking on. "Here now," he said. "Let's have none of this crying. He didn't mean to scare anyone." Taking his handkerchief from his pocket, he stepped over to Mama, put his arm around her, and started drying her eyes. Mama poked her head around him and glared at me. "Billy Coleman," she shouted, "if you ever scare me like that again, I'll take a switch and wear you to a frazzle." This hurt my feelings, and I really did get turned up. "Everyone's mad at me," he said, "and I haven't done anything but catch the biggest coon on the river." Mama came over. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't mean to be cross. But you did scare me. I thought a rattlesnake had bitten you." "Now that's that. All settled," Papa said. "We had better go get that coon." Looking at Mama, he said, "Why don't you and the girls go with us? I don't think it'll take long." Mama looked at me, smiled, and turned to the girls. "Would you like to go?" she asked. Their only answer was a lot of squealing and jumping up and down. On the way, Mama noticed some blood on my shirt. She stopped me and started looking me over. "Where did that come from?" she said. "Did that coon bite you?" "No, Mama," I said. "I didn't get close enough for him to bite me." With a worried look on her face, she jerked out my shirt. "You don't seem to be scratched anywhere," she said. "Maybe this is where it came from," Papa said. He reached down and picked up my boy pup. His little black nose was split wide open and he was bleeding. I saw a relieved look come over Mama's face. Looking at me, she started shaking her head. "I don't know," she said. "I just don't know." "Did that coon get hold of this pup?" Papa asked. "He sure did, Papa," I said, "but it wasn't the coon's fault. If it hadn't been for little Ann, he'd have eaten him up." I told how my dogs had tied into the coon. Papa laughed as he fondled my pup. "This dog is going to be a coon hound," he said, "and I mean a good one." "My goodness," Mama said. "You wouldn't think anything so small would be so vicious." Papa picked up a club. "Now everybody stand back out of the way," he said. "This won't take long." My pups were wanting to get to the coon so badly that they were hard to hold. I had to squeeze them up tight to keep them from jumping right out of my arms. My sisters with eyes as big as blue marbles got behind Mama and they peeked around her. Papa whacked the coon a good one across the head and he let out a loud squall, growled, and showed his teeth. He tried hard to get to Papa, but the trap held him. The girls buried their faces in Mama's dresses and started bawling. Mama turned her back on the fight. I heard her say, "I wish we hadn't come, the poor thing." Papa whacked him again, and it was over. It was too much for Mama and the girls. They left. I heard the tall cane rattling as they ran for the house. After the coon was killed, I walked over. Papa was trying to get the coon's paw from the trap, and he couldn't do it. Taking a pair of pliers from his hands, he said, "It's a good thing I had these long, or we would have to cut his foot off." After Papa had pulled the nails, he lifted the coon's paw from the hole. There, clamped firmly in it, was the bright piece of tin. In a low voice, Papa said, "Well, I'll be darned. All he had to do was open it up and he was free, but he wouldn't do it. Your grandfather was right." A sorrowful look came over Papa's face as he ran his fingers through the soft yellow hair. "Billy," he said, "I want you to take a hammer and pull the nails from every one of those traps. It's summertime now and their fur isn't any good. Besides, I don't think this is very sportsmanlike. The coon doesn't have a chance. It's all right this time. You needed this one. But from now on, I want you to catch them with your dogs. That way, they have a 50-50 chance." "I will, Papa," I said. "That's what I intend to do." While he was skinning the coon, Papa asked me when I was going to start training my dogs. "I don't know," I said. "Do you think they're too young?" "No, I don't think so," he said. "I've heard that the younger they are, the better it is." "Well, in that case," I said, "I'll start tomorrow." All right, guys. So that part was a little sad. But we know that he needed the coon skin in order to train his dogs so that he could train them how to be hunting dogs. It didn't seem like it was a really fabulous way of it going about, but for a young boy who was trying his best and didn't have the means to be able to do it, it worked. So we will pick up tomorrow. There's only a little bit left of Chapter 7, so we'll probably get into Chapter 8 tomorrow. Have a good day. I miss you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.